Hey, and welcome back. We're doing a question of the week, and this one comes from Instagram, and it is from recovering from infidelity. Well, let me read it. Recovering from infidelity and how cheating doesn't all look the same. And so, what that brings up for me is I don't quite know exactly what you mean in the question about how cheating doesn't all look the same. But what comes up for me is it could be infidelity or cheating with an actual person. It could be like lust or thoughts within my mind. It could be porn, or it could be looking at a particular book or series of books. I'm thinking that it's anything that would take away my love, my relationship, my desire for my spouse would be cheating. Would you agree with that? Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the question, and let's just talk about recovering. I think that's what the actual question is about: is how do you recover from that? And I think I just addressed how it doesn't all look the same. What immediately I think about is there's pain. So if there's trust broken, if there's betrayal, if there's infidelity, there is a deep hurt and pain in the other spouse that it occurred to. And how do you recover from that?
This is a great question, and we could literally spend 30 minutes on this subject right here, because it's not one thing. It's not five things. There is so much that I had to do, that I wanted to do, to recover from the pain and the hurt that I went through. And so for me, the first thing was recognizing that my feelings are never going to want to forgive. Ever. I was hurt so very deeply that, my feelings would have stayed angry, hurt, and not good enough for years. And, I'd had conversations with other women that had been through this, and that was what they would say is, it takes years to recover. And I was like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life dealing with recovering from this. I wanted to experience joy and happiness and love. And so anyways, I made the choice very early on that I was going to work on recovering. And I realized through something that Dr. Gary Chapman said to us. He said, your feelings will never feel like forgiving. You have to make a choice, and then your feelings will follow. And guys, that's the first time I had ever heard that. That was a brand new thing to me. I have a choice. Like, I can choose to forgive. I don't have to wait for you to say sorry. I don't have to wait for you to prove that you're not going to do this again. I don't have to hold you responsible and accountable for all these consequences that I have for you now. I get to choose unforgiveness, which sets me free. I can count on God to take care of Travis, but what was important to me is that I put the pieces of my heart back together. And it started with saying, I forgive him. And every single time it would pop up, it was another moment of, I forgive him. And there are still moments that pop up for me from time to time where thoughts will be so intrusive sometimes at the worst moments. And I have to say, I've forgiven him. And it just reminds me that I made that choice and I can let that go and turn all of that over to God, because that's what he's there for. And then the next thing was so God gave me this vision of this line, and God is over here and the enemy is over here. And the enemy wants to split our marriage up. So that's over here. And I had to put Travis on that line. Like, where is Travis? Because if I know the enemy wants to destroy my marriage, he hates marriage because God is the one who created it. then if Travis is over here close to the enemy, like I'm hating him and I'm angry with him, then he's winning, right? And so I was like, okay, God, like I want to put Travis over here where you are, and I want to work towards doing what you've called marriages to do. And he gave me many visions during that time, which I was just really grateful for, because he showed me that if I choose to stay in this marriage, and I feel like God gave me a choice. It wasn't like he said, you stay in this marriage. I just felt called to stay in the marriage. I felt God telling me he was going to work through our story in the future if I could just be patient and allow the healing to take place. And so that's what I did. And so literally every choice, because there were so many times where I wanted to lash out, or I wanted to throw things in your face, and I would have thoughts, and then anger would just start like coming out of me, and I would just want to get it out at you. Like you did nothing at that moment, and I would want to just, and it had everything to do with my thoughts. And I would put them on that line. Where are they right now? Well, it's heading towards the enemy, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to heal and move towards what the Lord wants for our marriage. And it took a lot of mental, emotional work. And it was very draining. I cried a lot. I think it's really, really important that when you've had betrayal and infidelity, no matter how it looks like, there's a grief.
It is a grief, like a loss.
It is a loss of the marriage I thought we had. And in my mind, I had to start a new marriage with him, because I lost everything I thought I had for 12 years. It was gone. All that trust was gone. There were question marks all over everything. And so it meant for me starting a new marriage, and we had new commitments with each other and new boundaries. Like it was really important that I knew where that line was, not only because I don't want to cross it, but I want to know that he's not going to cross lines either. And so we created boundaries together and accountability for both of us. And that's been really beneficial in the recovery and the healing for my heart, as time has gone by. And it was just so cool, because about a year later, I just recognized, my heart doesn't hurt as much. It still hurt. Like when I would think about it, there would still be that just sorrow and that grief. And then it would go away, so it was a whole lot less. And I wasn't crying anymore. And I just started to see God's healing in my heart. And it was just so powerful. And the more I got to see the healing and experience it, the more I wanted. And then I was really seeing a new connection with you, because I was willing to do the work and not constantly hold it over your head for the rest of your life. Like, I don't know what kind of a life that would be, but I can imagine that in our marriage, it would put a whole lot of blame and stress and
I agree.
all of that would be really difficult to have true intimacy and connection. And that's something that we've worked really, really hard at, is that intimacy.
I agree. As you were talking, I was thinking, one thought that came to my mind is, if you're watching this and you've experienced infidelity, if you've experienced betrayal or unfaithfulness in your marriage in any capacity, like this question was asking, we're sorry. I know that's a pain that we don't desire you to go through, and we're sorry. These things can be helpful, as well as we would want you just to reach out to us and see what we can do to support you going through this as well. You're not alone, and you don't need to go through this alone. So that's what immediately came to mind. And then I was thinking, it was really great that you brought up grief. It's because it's kind of like when you have a death and really close in the family, there's grief that goes on with that, but there is they died. But this is a grief that goes on where that person's still there with you. and you got to make all kinds of like internal things going on about that person. And so it's really great that you brought up grief, because there's stages that you go through in the grief, and each stage is okay, and each stage does not require you to go through it there at certain times, and just have patience with yourself as you go through.
Allow that process. Yeah, I forgot to say that. Like, it's so important to allow yourself to grieve, because I feel like the more I was resisting dealing with it and allowing those emotions to be there, the bigger that they would get.
Yeah, what you resist persists.
Yeah. And so, and when you were saying going through different stages, you know, it was really interesting, because there were times that I wanted to cry and I wanted him to hold me. And it felt weird, but it was, I wanted a connection with you, and I wanted to heal, and I would be angry at the same time. I want you to hold me. And it was just something that I didn't understand, and I just allowed myself to do that. And then there were times I wanted complete privacy, and I wanted to just cry it out all by myself in the bathtub, or, you know, whatever that looked like. And it was just so healing. And I would play worship music, and there's a couple of songs that really ministered to my heart during that time. I listened to them multiple times a day, every single day for months. And
Thank you, Lauren Daigle.
Yeah, Lauren Daigle was amazing during that time. And so anyways, yeah, it is a process of recovering from any kind of betrayal in your relationship. And so we are here for you. We are marriage coaches. Reach out to us. We would love to do a marriage assessment on your marriage if this is something that applies to you. We just appreciate you watching and joining our conversation.
Thanks for the question.
Bye.
Bye.